good, y'all? It's your boy Herb.
And it's your girl Mo.
And welcome to our soon-to-be
world-renowned podcast.
Young, Black, and Figured It Out. What up, though?
What it do?
Whatever you tell it. I'm going to start it off. I started off a little rocky on the intro.
You know, it's okay. Today is a day.
Today is a day. Definitely a day. What up, though?
Yeah.
How you feeling?
I'm feeling lovely. How are you feeling?
Oh, I'm feeling stupendous, gang.
Ooh.
Yeah.
I thought he was going to say rejuvenated.
Oh, I am feeling a little rejuvenated, though. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I like stupendous. That was great.
Stupendous. It's the fall time. And we can say that because it's not pre-recorded. But yeah. It's the fall time. The weather feeling amazing. Like, we feel good.
Yeah. I
you
do.
know?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Sweater.
It is. So, you know what's crazy? I go through like different periods of time where I'm figuring out what season do I really enjoy, both metaphorically and actually. And the fall now, at this point in time, I consciously realized, I think this is my favorite time. Like, what's happening in the world, you know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. The seasons and the leaves and all that good stuff. And also the weather, though. Like, I don't like being cold. At the winter time, I could skip winter every time. But
yes,
the 77 to like 64 degrees, like that range, I'm cool with that.
Fair.
Yeah.
77 seems a little too high for me personally, but I support this. I love fall weather. Like, it's the best time of the year. I like how cold it gets, and like it's really cool. And you need like a blankie or long sleeves, boots, jeans.
But you ain't got frostbite though.
Right.
Yeah, I'm with you.
Why you had to add that part? The winter isn't too bad. It's just the snow or the weather, like when when it becomes like a blizzard and thing. I think that's just unnecessary. But like winter itself isn't too bad. I mean, I also have allergies, so that might be why.
Okay, all right, I got you.
My allergies are lessened.
Yeah,
during that time, and I love soup.
Oh, I'm with
Soup me up.
I hear that.
I know. Yeah.
I'm not a soup person, but it's funny. You said the winter's not too bad. It's just the snow and the weather. That's what winter time is, ain't it?
No, well, it depends on where you are.
Touche. You got him. But yeah, lit. Okay. Yeah, listen, like we always do it this time.
Sound like you rapping.
I go for my who that? Oh, you can't even say who that is.
I don't know.
Kanye. But okay, yes. So we always do. What do we figure out this week? Are you excited to do that right now?
Oh, absolutely.
But let's talk about it. What do we figure out?
I got one. I figured out that growth is not inevitable, only intentional.
Ooh, you thought about this.
I did.
You came with some heat.
To the point where I wrote it down because I'm like, I'm going to forget by the time we have to talk about it. There was a lot happening in the last week and a half.
Yeah.
And I realized that unless you choose it, growth is not going to happen. It doesn't just fall into your lap. You know what I mean? I think you might come across opportunities and have decisions, but if you choose to do nothing with it or walk away from it, you're choosing not to grow. And that's okay. Like, people are content. Like, people are happy exactly where they are and with what they have, and what they want is like, I'm good. That's okay. But for those who aren't, the goal is to then choose to grow and focus on, this is what I want and I'm working toward more. And that is also okay. All right. But yeah, that revelation came where I'm like, where do I fall? What do I surround myself with, and what do I want? You know?
Growth is not inevitable. It's only intentional. I love that.
Thank you.
I love like those type of, like, that's like a saying that that's a mantra that you can move by.
Right.
Wow.
Yeah.
And you feel like you've been intentional with that?
Oh, absolutely. To the point where I think I told you this the other day. I'm like, I've been so goal-oriented and focused on certain things. Like, I need to ensure I do this in order to get there. And the goal is to get here, so I must do this, right? And I'm coming to a point where it's like, you did it, so what's next? I'm like, oh, snap. I haven't been in a space where I don't actually know what's next.
Ooh.
Or, you know what I mean? And that's different for me.
Yeah.
It's not as uncomfortable as I thought it would be because that revelation of it's not inevitable. I have to be intentional. So I'm like, oh, you have to seek this out, Mo.
Yeah.
Like the plan can't just be written and you just fall into it. It's like, yeah.
I love that.
Thank you.
Dope.
Thanks.
Yeah.
What about you? What did you figure out this week?
Man, nothing earth shattering, but definitely a little earth rocking for sure.
Wow.
Honestly, it's very personal. What I'm figuring out around me is just like it's like better to be clear on communication early, right? Than to like waver and have it unclear. And then people have to like decide or decode things at a later distance or later time on their own. Like it's best for you to be upfront. Like don't mince words. Because when you do that in the beginning, what happens is like, again, people decipher parts and bits and pieces of things that you didn't say on their own. It's left to like their perception. So if you really want to be like clear about what you're meaning to say or meaning to do or what your intentions are, like the best thing to do is to like clearly state that.
Right.
Like don't mince words around that.
Right.
And I had like this week I've had 3 or 4 tough conversations that I've had to have. And through each one I got better at like not mincing words. You know? Yeah. Like, nah, this is what I'm saying. Or this is the issue. Or this is what I'm seeing. Or this is how we can do this differently. Or this is what we're trying to get to, right? And just that clarity in the beginning, like it saved you so much. It's like the idea of, and it's not that I was like ducking smoke, but I was trying to like make it land nice and do all this. And that's like, nah. It's like the premise of, you ever heard like a coward dies 1,000 times and brave man dies once. It's like, yeah, just get it out, like go toe to toe, mix it up now.
Be direct.
Get that over with.
Right.
And don't mince words. Like that's important. And then there's no deciphering later. And that's with anything, just dead-end interaction. Like somebody actually go somewhere, like, nah, I'm not going.
Right. No, thank you. I'm good.
I'm just not happening. Not like, oh, I'll let you know. It's like, nah, it's over.
Yeah. Just be clear.
Yeah, it's a wrap.
Time.
Yeah.
I hear that. And I support that. Did you have to check for understanding, or did people say or do something that had you be like, you don't know what I'm trying to say?
Nah, stuff happened later. Like, so the one particular instance I'm talking about, I thought I was clear, and necessarily that's not true. I thought the message was received clearly. I didn't think I was clear. You know what I'm saying? Because I'm like, obviously I'm not. Like, when I'm back reflecting, I'm like, oh no, this could have been. And so somebody else came to me with a conversation that I had. And I was like, oh yeah, so this is what the person took from the convo. I'm like, did they? Like, that's not what I was intending
to say, right?
But it doesn't matter what you're intending. So I had to circle back and be clear. But it's like, and that was even harder. Like, all right, next time I'm just gonna say, here's what I'm saying, period.
Right.
Let's talk about that.
Right, unapologetically. Yeah. Which I support, and that is so hard, because who wants to do the conflictual, like, what if they get offended or how they might feel? But it's like, I need to be clear and straight with you.
Yeah, for me, it was also, a lot of it was like the idea of, again, I'm trying to preserve people's feelings and like make this land better for them. When it's like the actual preserving of the feeling is like clear is kind from the ground. So it's like, yeah. So that was big for me, for sure.
I support that a lot.
Yeah.
It's a good one.
I also found out I want a boat. Yeah, no joke.
I'm sorry, what?
I want a boat, yo. I went on my one of the people who I work with has a boat, and I went on the boat. I'm like, oh, okay.
You mean you want to purchase and own a boat?
Nah.
Like operate a boat?
So what I would love to do is if they had like seasonal rentals where you could like have a boat from like during boat season and not own the boat, like lease the boat out.
Yeah.
I would love to do that.
Okay, so you want to do more boating?
Like, yeah, I want to be able to have the experiences that boats can bring, which is community, which is reflection, which is getting away, like that.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah, for sure.
That's nice, and that's something you don't hear very often, so that's why it took me off.
Yeah,
I'm like, what is he saying?
I want a boat. Yeah. Actually, let me manifest. I will have a boat.
And at any point, if you care to invite me on, I'll say yes.
Yeah, come on.
Look at me, I'm like, I don't need a boat, but I will boat.
Can you swim?
Can I what?
Bet.
Sir. Can I drown? Yes. Very well.
Okay. Say.
Another story, another time, guys.
Yeah. All right. Well, listen, today's episode is going to be impactful, I think, to many people. Because it's impacting many people. So, actually, it's impacting over 55% of the American population. So, today we're going to talk about surviving student loans.
Lordy.
Yeah, and how we going to end up doing that. So let's talk about that. So, folks, when you're hearing this message, this podcast, student loans would have officially been back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is the month that the payments begin.
Yeah. So interest came last month, and now student loans are back. And so many people are going to be affected. I thought we were going to forgive the loans, Joe, but I guess not. And so here's where we are.
Can't blame him, though.
Nah, we ain't going to blame Joe. We're going to blame the system that finessed us.
Yeah.
But we just thought he was going to help us out. Come on, Joe. But yes, so here are some interesting stats about this. So the student loan debt in America is 1.77, not million, not billion,
Don't tell me.
$1 trillion. Just 1.77 trillion dollars in student loan debt. And so many people are being crushed by student loan debt, and the people who are the most affected are the people who are the most marginalized, especially socioeconomic status. So folks who actually, and not just socioeconomic, but other demographic categories too. So if you look, women have a much higher student loan debt ratio than men, and people of color have a much higher student loan ratio than their white counterparts. Specifically Black Americans. And it's not, again, this is a system issue, not just a person issue. And so a lot of the times what happens is folks don't have access to resources because of systemic poverty and where folks have landed. So you have to borrow more money. Folks who you borrow more money because your parents maybe can't help you out or whatever, or might be immigrants and all those things. And so when you come out, you have a lot more debt. Not only that, many folks who come out of school, Black and brown folks, and specifically Black folks in particular, because of, it's increasing now, but for a long time, the folks who graduated and were able to get like high paying jobs because of their degree also had to be like pillars of the family. So they're like helping, and we talked about this in one of our last season episodes, but they're helping like their families and other folks oftentimes. And so they can't get ahead as far versus having a network of folks who have generational wealth. You don't have to help as much. So it's hard to even pay down on student loans. All of that is contextualizing the issue right now.
Right.
Yeah. So let's talk about this. Student loan debt, for you before we hallelujah'd, how was that affecting you for years up until now?
You ever have that like one thing that you'll never be able to accomplish or get to? It was, for me personally, it was my Mount Everest, because under no circumstances do I plan to climb it. And if I had to, with the training I have right now, it's not happening. You know what I mean? It was just so high, and paying for years, you notice that the number never changed. My principal did not change 1 ounce, not an iota, not even a decimal. You know what I mean? Like it didn't go down $1. It has been the same for years.
Yep.
So I'm like, oh, they're never gonna get this. It's never gonna happen. I've spoken to like some financial people before where they're like, if you pay your smaller ones first, and then you could start tackling this one pretty large. And I'm like, when? How? The way your car needs this and this needs that, and you got to pay toward that. Under no circumstances could I like ever pay that consistently to get it to lower. And I know people who have, like people who've broke their necks, worked umpteen hours to pay that off, and I salute them. And I'm looking like, I wish. Yeah. But it never, nothing. Years. My first graduation was in 2011, and then my second one was 2013. It hasn't changed since then. It went up, but it didn't go down. You know what I mean? Yeah.
Was that like, so was that actually the mindset that you had? Like, oh no, it's over. I'm not paying this.
Not even I'm not paying this. I can't pay this. It wasn't even like if I could, I would. But I can't.
Yeah.
Yeah. For a long time.
I hear that. And so similar, I have a very won't be long, y'all, put in the air. A very high student loan balance. And it's not like, I went to Yale or Harvard Law School. Yeah. I just got finessed. Like no one
told you about private schools, because no one told me.
Gang, if I could go back in time, I wouldn't change because of where I am right now. But truthfully, if I had the decision to make and I had all the information, I wouldn't have went to a private school out of state. I didn't know no difference. I'm like, oh, I got a basketball scholarship. It's going to help me. Woo, woo, woo. Not understanding. He didn't even understand graduate student loans. Didn't understand the idea of like when you actually borrowing money and you'll need to take the max amount. It's like, oh no, let me get that refund check. I had no idea.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, oh no, you paying that back later. And it's funny, you said it's not that I'm not going to pay. It's just like I can't.
Mm-hmm.
For me, it's like I can and I'm not. It's like, yeah, like y'all, like no, bro, y'all finesse. It's like, oh no, we have to do something about this because this is the biggest. Like this, I think, is one of the biggest scams because school does not need to cost that much
at all.
No.
Mm-mm.
And it's like, I understand. It's like, hey, well, you had the choice and you had the option. Like, no, I didn't have the information.
Right.
It's like, so no, actually, I think it's an ethical issue.
Right.
For many people who are stepping into that.
Because you sign away all kinds of things. I didn't know what I was signing.
You're 18 years old.
You go to those meetings and you go by yourself.
What? Come on,
and
bro.
they're just like, sign this, and then, you'll be able to attend classes next week.
Okay.
Signed right
and
there.
And you gone. That's an ethical issue. That's a
clue.
problem.
No clue. And shout out to my mom who also signed a Parent Plus loan for me.
Yeah.
And I had no understanding at that time either.
Yeah, that she didn't have that.
Right.
Because of that.
On top of her own student loans.
Come on, man.
You know what I mean?
It's
like,
crushing people, yo.
I'm looking like, I'm in school. I couldn't even afford books. I didn't know what I was signing. I ain't get no refund checks either.
Nah. And you mentioned your mom, so people this, y'all. So the average balances of student loan debt increases with every age group. Going to what you said earlier, so you spoke about your mom's loans, but then you said earlier, like, not only is it not staying the same, it's going up. Mm-hmm. The highest student loan debt age group right now is folks 62 and over. Mm-hmm. Think about that, like.
Right, my mom's 26, but yeah, I hear you.
Think about, so think about this, like, the fact that, so you in a space where it's like, you have ran the race, you know what I'm saying? So, and now you're in a space where you have to worry about this crushing bill, where you also thinking about things like your health, long-term care, all of that.
Right.
And student loans are crushing you.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, why would, and you see a steep decline of people going to school. That's why. It's like, why would I do that?
Right. And then, sometimes you're like, you try to share this and you think you have common, like, camaraderie with, like, yeah, we're all in the same boat. Mm-hmm. But truly, everyone pays such a different rate depending on what they got.
Yeah.
That when I'm like, oh my gosh, it's so much. I've heard people talking about they pay twice, 3 times, 4 times what I have to pay. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, do I even have a right to speak? Mm-hmm. Because my God, I could not fathom. Yeah. Like $800 a month for this? Mm-hmm.
Oh no, this is
how are you paying for rent?
Yeah.
How are you eating this month?
They're gonna get what they get when they get it. So I told you, I can and I'm not. It's okay. You gonna get what you gotta get. It's gonna be a wrap. So that's cool.
At this point.
Yeah. So can we and there are multiple ways that folks can start to combat that, because many people are putting up a fight right now. It's like, no, this isn't okay. And again, it's like, it's very different if folks have all the information and make a decision, but many folks are coming in, you said 17, 18 years old, don't fully understand what they're getting themselves into, and by the time you do, you're kind of in the trap. And it'll be different too if most of the folks who went to school came out and with a degree that actually paid at a rate to where they will be able to pay this off in a reasonable amount of time. That's not the case.
Right.
And so again, it's just like, it's a system that is trapping people. And so we got to do something about that. But there are folks combating that. So I don't know, do you feel comfortable sharing kind of the way you navigate it and help, you navigate?
If I can help anybody,
share the information, because you're helping me out.
So years ago, I recall that it was new at the time, and I feel very blessed that I came right when it was starting. The public service loan forgiveness program was starting out, and they were big on, if you can pay like a reduced rate, 120 qualifying payments, so that's 10 years of paying, your loans can be forgiven. And like hearing that, it's like 10 years. It sounds
like forever, right?
My gosh.
Yeah.
But then you're thinking, I plan to be alive as long as I'm here, I'm going to be here. So might as well do it. And so if you're working in certain places like nonprofit places that are working to help those in like disadvantaged communities, things like that, and it's eligible, that will count toward the public loan forgiveness program. So I was working at a charter school for elementary school students, majority 98% Black and brown. And I realized it was eligible, and I went to my boss and had him sign and fill out the paperwork, and I submitted it. And so they said that I'm now in the program and I just have to make my 120 payments. Now this was in 2013. Maybe 2014 I signed up, but it was, somewhere around there. And I had already consolidated all my loans to make them all federal loans, to make my payments easier to pay, because I had different loans in different places. And I was like, okay. And thankfully they came out with the income driven repayment plans,
Yeah.
which were, a saving grace for me and so many others, where my payments were no longer supposed to be like $500 a month, because I don't know where they were going to get that from. I could not afford that. So then it was like 100 and something. And as your like pay increases, maybe it increased depending on which one you chose. I chose the one that would give me the lowest all the time. And they just came out with this new one called Save, which is the lowest of the low. So I know some people who signed up who are only going to pay $0 a month. I know some people who signed up who will pay like $80 a month. It really just depends on how much you make, or if you have kids, or, all the other things going on in your life. And it's very easy to do. So if you haven't done it, do it, which is separate from even the public loans forgiveness. But if you do both, then you're paying less while doing it.
While also getting your payments added on to.
Right.
Yes, that's a win.
Right. So I can happily share that, like, was it a week ago?
Yeah.
I checked in on my account and it said in good standing. Now, mind you, I've been checking on this daily.
Celebration.
Well, since July, I've been on it because I'm like, we got to pay back, right? And I'm checking every day and I see my number not changing, staying the exact same, going up now that the interest came back. And I'm like, but then I went through and noticed that I worked at a charter school for 9 years, and then I worked at a hospital now for a year. And I'm like, that's 10 years.
You good money.
That's the 120 payments. I made these payments. If you were working during COVID, and we know everything went into forbearance, all of those months still count for the public loan service. Like, it all counts because you're still working in the same places and you're not paying anything, but that's because COVID happened. That's not our fault. It all counts.
Yeah.
So for the last, 3 years? The last 3 years, we haven't paid anything. So I haven't paid anything. And those months count. And so I hit my 120. And finally, I guess the government has noticed, and they said your account is now in good standing.
Yeah.
I can't find the amount that I owed, that again never changed at all. It's not there. Everything says $0.
Hey man, won't they do it? Come on, won't he do it?
You ever been thankful?
Yeah,
it's
that's
like
what's up.
the tears.
And that's fire. And that's called the Public Service
Loan Forgiveness Program.
Loan Forgiveness Program.
PSLF.
And can we give a shout out to what's the company that helped you?
Oh, GradFin.
Yeah.
So GradFin is a company that helps people with all kinds of debt, especially student loans. That's their expertise. You can call them, make an appointment. They'll work with you. Like, they did audits for me, helped me call the loan companies because they were originally giving me the wrong numbers, right? Like, it was saying, although I had hit 120, it was saying I only had like 96.
Yeah.
And then GradFin helped and had me update it. And then it only said 114. So then they were like, we're going to call together. They called, they spoke on my behalf. I just had to give my regular information and heard everything on the phone. And then 2 days later, they updated it and the 120 was there. So unfortunately, it takes time for them to say it's in good standing. But once you hit the 120, they're supposed to put you in administrative forbearance so that you don't have to pay anything.
Yeah.
If you hit 120 and you still are paying, you will get a refund. That is what I know. But yeah, GradFin helped me out. I've been referring people left and right.
100%. And they hit me up because folks referring me, and also certified financial planner. Shout out to them. But they hit me up to figure it out, which is fire.
Right.
So yeah, that first of all, congratulations on that. That is
Thank
a
you.
blessing to be long for you up on that. So yes, when you do it. So yes, I'm going to get mine.
Right.
But that's huge. And those one of the things that I think. I mean, I didn't know as much about that.
Right.
Until you hey, by the way, this
Right.
thing is happening.
You know what it is? I've done this since 2013, 2014. And because there's been nothing's changed, nothing's been happening, no one's talking about it. I didn't get close to the 120 yet. I started to doubt that this was real.
Right.
Like, there have been companies here and there popping up saying that if you pay them, they'll pay your loans type of thing. And I'm like, I think it's a scam. I'm not going to worry about it. And there came a point where I was going to give up. I was like, there's no way I'm going to hit this 120.
Yeah.
So now that it's happened, I was like, I got to tell everybody, which I feel bad. I should have probably been talking about it a while ago. Forgive me, y'all.
But it is retroactive though, so you can go back and like find the years that you worked and connect with your employer. So if you have been working in a place that qualifies, and it's something that you might, of course, if you're in like a for-profit business, that's it's different. But for folks who are, you might not know if this would qualify. I would say look it up because I didn't think where I worked prior to would qualify, and it does, or where I work now and it does. So I definitely would encourage that for folks. Yeah, fire.
You just need your EIN number for the business or for the place that you worked, and you could Google that. Yeah.
Yes, good. So fire. Yes, hallelujah. And so the other thing too that I've been reading on is I think that because of the people are trying to avoid this crashing, I think that there's going to be some type of big time overhaul to address this.
I hope.
We almost got it, sort of, kind of, with the student loans forgiveness plan that was denied by the Supreme Court. But I do think there's something coming. And this is all just off of me doing the research and anecdotal and seeing like the tides and the trends. And folks, like if enough people say like enough is enough and don't pay, like what you gonna do about it?
Right.
So my thing that I've been doing is making sure now, once we get back to it, I'm gonna pay the interest that's on there so it doesn't like get more. And then the minimal.
Right.
And then until my 10 years come.
For those IDR plans, the income-driven repayment ones, because they have multiple different ones, they have changed it where some people who've been paying for 20 years or 30 years will get forgiveness just because they've been paying so consistently. So I'm like, if you're one of those people, check it. Make sure you like call.
Yeah.
And they have high call times. I waited 45 minutes to talk to somebody.
But
I
you
care.
was going to do it.
They were going to hear from me today.
Yeah, I had I did that. I did income driven for first, for actually up until COVID. I'm like, nah, I'm going to pay the minimum.
Right.
Now it's a wrap. But at that point I was doing that. And it was helpful. I mean, honestly, it really was.
Yeah.
Like to set you up. And yes, you can go find that out. And this is one of the things where it's complex enough that I would encourage people to get help. So like the Grad Fin, great thought. Or any other place that can help you navigate, I think that's important to do.
Right.
Because again, we don't want to have to be at effect so much to this.
Right.
And it is so complex. Things change all the time. Companies selling to other companies for your loans where do you consolidate, do you not consolidate? It's a bunch of things to think about.
Right.
That it's important that we get help with that.
Right. And if by chance you're just one of those people who don't trust anybody and feel like maybe, but you know somebody who's done it or has their loans forgiven, talk to them. More than likely, they'll be more than willing to help and like guide you and be like, no, this is a trusted company. Like, don't worry, they got you. So.
Yeah. So what about last questions? So our audience isn't as such that we might not be speaking directly to the folks who would be affected by this, but we might be speaking to folks who are directly affected. So for this question, let's think about those folks. If there was something, like if you can go back in time, like, hey, here's something I wish that I knew before I decided to like take out loans or go to school and look at loans and like make that decision that impacted us in the future. What is something that what would you tell your past self? What would future Mo or current Mo tell past Mo about the loans and decisions?
Oh man. I do it now as I talk to my teenagers who are graduating high school and I'm looking at them and they're like, I'm just going to go to college. And I'm like, okay, how are we paying for it? What does that look like? And that's the answer. I don't know. It's like, okay, scholarships. There are so many scholarships that no one ever applies for out there. You can Google them. I mean, hundreds of scholarships. And a lot of times the money is just sitting there because no one ever applied. If I could go back, if I could talk to me, then, I would have applied to every scholarship. I was so focused on graduating and getting good grades and like graduating as valedictorian. I did the like applications for school early. I was in school by October. Like I was already accepted.
Yep.
Months. Monique had months. You don't graduate till June. I had months. If I actually thought about it or knew better, I would have been applying to every single scholarship I could find.
Yeah.
I'd have been trying to get grants. I'd have been doing everything.
100%.
And I did not. And I regret that deeply. Yeah. So that is what I would tell younger me and any person who hears this, please. Scholarships, scholarships, scholarships.
Yeah.
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 What would you say?
To younger me and anybody else thinking about making that decision about school and or loans, I would say first, like, well, very first thing is to make sure school is for you. I do think there is high benefit to going to school. Like, I'm not one of the people who's like, school is a scam, and there is benefit, right? Like, there's experiential benefit. There's like knowledge you get, network, and then also the way our society is structured now, having a degree. It's like statistically proven right now, at least, that folks who have a bachelor's degree, like, you earn more per degree up to an extent, right? Up to the doctorate, though, because the doctorate is different. So actually, that's not true for doctorate from what I was looking at. But I would say make sure you know why, because that's going to cost you, right? So you're going to pay, you know why you're doing it. But the second thing is exactly what you said. Like, before you even get to the scholarships, it's like, okay, now that you know the why, look at options and understand all of the context. Private versus public, very different. State school average debt is like $10,000, where it's like $28,000 for a private school.
Right.
Out of state tuition is very different than in-state tuition. Like, all of those things matter.
Benefits of a community college and all that.
Yeah, and just understanding, like, weighing the benefits of all of those things. And then, like, after that, it's like, okay, how am I going to pay for this? Scholarships is huge. So there's an app. I actually was just looking at it. I couldn't remember it, but I remember we had talked about it. We was with somebody, I think, that was telling us about this. But it's Scholly. So the app is called Scholly, and it actually helps people get connected to any and all the scholarships that are out there. So you can actually find, and that's something I would have done for sure, like scholarship for, like, can you play music? Do you have a podcast?
Do you wear glasses?
Do you wear glasses?
It's like the most random. Are you, like, you're based on hair color?
Yeah.
Based on height?
Yeah.
Like, there's so many.
Yeah, it's a bunch of scholarships and it's hard. Like, you don't even, at that time, I didn't know the difference between, like, grants and loans and scholarships. So just getting, like, as up on that as you can, especially now with, like, you know, you can go on TikTok, and I know somebody out there on TikTok has an amazing explanation of what all this means. Subsidized versus unsubsidized loans, and grants versus, like, all of those things. I know you can find it, so for sure.
Yes.
So that's huge. And then I think with the loans things is just like mapping it out, because the thing I'm most disappointed that I did not do or did not know was, like, what was going to be the outcome. I kind of just, like, waited in the water until I got to where I was, and I'm like, this is where this is taking me. You know what I'm saying? And so it's like, I would encourage people to, like, hey, actually chart the course. Like, you don't want to just, like,
wade in the water. Why are you like this?
I feel like, I was trying to. That was intentional. Like, I was wading in the water because I feel like now they trying to have us in chains and bondage with this student loans. You feel me? Come on now. Yeah.
He got deep. Yeah. I support that.
But legit though. And then you just appeared somewhere. It's like, damn.
Yeah.
I got how much is student loan? You know what I'm saying? So it's like, map that out. And the people can help you. Like, that's why they have student support services. If you do go to school, whether if you're like a non-traditional student and you're doing it, like, from home or as an adult learner, or if you're going into the traditional, like, pathway, they have folks who can help you. And I would encourage you to talk to them, understand what you're getting yourself into and what you're going to come out with.
Right.
Because it doesn't just, like, got to be intentional.
Yes.
It's not inevitable.
Nah.
That it'll be fine. You know?
I like that. That was good.
Yeah. Any last words you want to leave with the folks about these student loans?
Also, I think we mentioned this in the last episode, like, ask, if you are looking at a school, ask what kind of scholarships or financial aid they have outside of loans. Because sometimes if you don't ask, you just don't know and they don't say. But when you do, they're like, actually, we have these opportunities or this and da-da-da-da.
Yeah.
Just saying, because I went to a school that was giving out scholarships like water. It was like, and I was trying to apply as much as possible. So,
be intentional about what you got going on, because again, it's just like, you really do, like, ask the questions so you can know the information, see what opportunities they have, because you just don't want to, like, float through. And that's what I think I did when it came to the financial piece of my college education. I just kind of was just like, again, going places and just ended up somewhere like, dang, I would have known better. I would have. If I knew better, I'd do better.
Yeah. Yeah.
For sure. And the other thing, too, is, like, you probably here watching right now, what in the world are they talking about?
He got me to stop.
Yeah, listen, we might be right.
We might be wrong.
But at the end of the day,
we just young, black, and figuring it out. Tough.